looks like.
Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. Should we start, Diane?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Great. And just so everyone's aware, I am taping this event. We typically do that just so we've got a record later if you want to refer back to our conversations. So don't say anything mean about anyone, okay? It will be archived. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. We continue to make some good progress together, and I'm actually quite excited to share with you the next version of the platform. I know you've seen an earlier version. Hopefully, what you'll see today, if you haven't had a chance to see it already in the link that Diane sent out, hopefully it's starting to convey what's the conceptual idea and the challenge that a lot of the employers are facing, and hopefully the concept that we'll share today helps us address some of those issues. Before we get into the nuts and bolts and the details, I think it's really crucial to identify that everything we're doing right now, think of it as really the prototype blueprint that we're building. We've had many conversations that are conceptual conversations. Unfortunately, when we keep conversations at a conceptual level, it's difficult to get our arms wrapped around what we're trying to do, how we will actually solve the issues, and it's difficult to even engage with the employees to get their feedback. So what we're trying to do is build something with sufficient amount of accuracy that we can all look at it, we can play with it, understand what we like, dislike, and hopefully with that feedback, then we can improve, refine the tool. And I know there's a little bit of background noise, so I'm going to mute us. If anyone wants to speak up, please you should all be able to unmute yourselves or just sort of flag me and I'll be happy to unmute you. But for now, I'm going to mute everyone just to keep the background noise down. Okay, so everyone's been muted now. Okay, so the agenda for today, quick hit look at where we've been. We came up with the initial design of what the challenges were. We started that process in August. We built a prototype portal. Then we started to, we got many of you to share your feedback with us on what you thought of that portal. So we've gotten that feedback. We also had an opportunity to meet with folks from the Winter Park I just blanked out, the hospital system. And they provided us feedback, and then we also spoke with some employees at Winter Park. So they've actually seen the portal. They've given us some really great feedback. We'll spend a few minutes sharing what that feedback is. So we'll do that. And then really where we're at now, this is the month where we want to finalize as much of the data on the portal as possible and sort of start to take this portal for a spin with our employees. Really want to start to see what is it that they like or dislike about the portal. What would their suggestions be on how to make this portal more applicable to them? So that's the process we're in right now. You should also be aware that Diane's in the process of issuing a formal RFP to really, take this concept from a prototype to something much more robust. So that's also happening as we speak. I'll keep going. So our goals this month is to really get your feedback, get employee feedback on the platform, load the data, start to test it out. We want to really start to figure out how we're going to market this tool. At the end of the day, we keep making this point, which is this is just a technology. It's just a website. This website by itself doesn't solve anything. Unless we take this technology, this website, this portal, and we can put rich, applicable data information on it that people want to see, that employees find value in, that you, the employers, find it easy to work with, and somehow it makes your life easy. And then that technology somehow as smoothly, as seamlessly integrates with what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. Unless we sort of hammer out those pieces, this website is basically going to be a complete, it's not going to drive as much value and impact as we can. So we're really focusing on making sure that the conversation are more comprehensive, and it's not just about build a website, check, sort of put the check on the box, and move on. Because if we think of it in limited terms, we're not going to see the value. Let me just take a few minutes. We touched on this last time, but I know we have a handful of new folks. I just want to touch really quick on some of the feedback we've got from Middle Park Health. And then I have the next slide where we'll cover the feedback from the employees from Winter Park, and just really, really good feedback we've gotten that's been really helpful in our thinking. So the initial feedback was that from Middle Park was they thought that the platform was very helpful. They thought that it could be really helpful in recruiting employees, being able to show in one simple location where all the jobs are. From Middle Park's perspective, obviously they're not a tourism business. The point they made is having central location is helpful not just to the person they're recruiting, even if it's a nurse or a physician or someone in health care management. Oftentimes they're coming alongside someone else in the family, a trailing spouse who may also be looking for a job. So being able to make this a referral portal for immediate employees or their families, they thought would be really helpful. The HR folks thought that, one of the capabilities we've built in here is to, when you have to do mass data upload, if you want to create multiple jobs listings, rather than having to enter that one at a time, we've created sort of a mechanism where you can do mass data uploads. And they thought that would be really helpful in sort of easing the burden of maintaining data, managing data. They had some concerns about posting wage ranges. Mind you, the people that we spoke with at Middle Park were primarily HR folks, management, and so they just weren't sure how effective posting wages would be. So that's something we need to be thinking about. They like the idea of, something that we've shared with you in the past is, it's the question is, what is it that we do on this platform that's unique and distinct and really helps us address challenges that aren't being addressed in existing platforms. So if the point wasn't to just create another monster or jobs database and post on it jobs in Grand County, because if that's all we did, we wouldn't really be creating any real value. So one of the capabilities we created based on your feedback was this idea that given that we have seasonal jobs, we have cyclical jobs, the ability to identify when jobs will be opening up in the future. So I can go on the portal and see, in April next year, there's certain jobs that will be coming open that will be where I can work from maybe April to September and look and see what those blocks of jobs look like. They thought that was a really, really powerful tool that would be very helpful. And the biggest concerns they flagged was just marketing. How do we make sure that property owners, employees, businesses understand that this portal exists and that they're utilizing it? So that was some of the feedback from Middle Park. Let me just, I'm going to pause there. I don't want to keep yapping. If you have questions, I'm going to unmute everybody for a couple of minutes and just see if you have any thoughts or questions. So everyone's been unmuted now. If you have any questions or thoughts, please feel free to throw them at me.
Well, I jumped in as you were telling us the value and our contribution makes the value work of this website. And I apologize. I didn't get to do very much, but it's the end of the summer and we're almost done with all of our projects, and it's also our budget time of year. And so I'll have more time in November. So it's not reflective of our interest. It's just we actually did incredible changes to our site and we're upgrading. I mean, everything came together. So sorry you got put on the back burner. Not that you're not important. Okay.
Business comes first. Got to make money.
Well, while the weather's good, you got to get the things done that have to be done. That's what we did. That's where we're at. So anyway, I
Okay.
renew, I'm committed. I definitely want to give this a try, and I'm sharing this. And I plan on sharing this with the other people in the wood industry as well. So I do appreciate this opportunity.
Excellent. Good. Other thoughts and feedback? Any questions so
This
far?
is Chris Oxley. Just one thing of note. I don't know if you guys have talked about Connecting Colorado as a resource, but just looking at preventing employers from having to upload the same information many times. Consider a link to that, or maybe using that as a resource.
Yes. Great.
Yeah, this is Diane, and I think maybe you, Rishu, and I can get on a line and kind of walk through that and see what opportunities are there that we don't duplicate and we can use resources.
That'd be great.
This is Athena Tillman. I just wanted to say, from what I've seen, this looks wonderful, and thank you so much for all of your hard work and energy that you put into this. I think it's going to be a great resource.
Great. Thanks, Athena.
Thanks, Athena. We're going to quote you on that, all right? All right. Any other questions or thoughts so far? Okay, I'm going to mute everybody, and we're going to keep going. Okay. All right, so here's the feedback from Winter Park. And let me just sort of walk you through what all they said. The first thing they said is they wanted the name of the site. Initially, we were thinking Grand County Jobs, and that's the domain that we've built out right now. But they thought that was somewhat limited if we called it Jobs, because there's more to this portal that we're trying to do. So they kind of like the idea of Grand County Life, Grand County Living as potential domains. So I know that can be a big conversation when we talk about branding and naming, but just something to keep in mind. They thought that, it's really about quality of life and what are we doing in Grand County to help support quality of life for employees. So let's tap into that theme. They sort of, again, highlighted the most important piece is high quality data. How do we make sure that we have current high impact information on this site that the employees and the employers really find helpful? Making sure that the jobs data is current. When our employers put up that there's job openings, that they're actually hiring at that time. Making sure that our resources, every and any high quality resource that's applicable to our employees, how do we make sure that we're screening and filtering and making that information available? They thought that really focusing, building a high quality platform was crucial in the longevity and the success of this effort. So obviously we pay a lot of attention to that. They said that especially our major employers, if you just look at who's attending this discussion right now and who all the partners that are part of our anchor institution conversations, we represent a lot of employees, and that's a huge population that's being represented. So just making sure that before we even take it out too far, everything we can be doing amongst this group to be promoting the site amongst our employees, getting their feedback, could help ensure success of this platform. On the properties page, they had a couple of thoughts. Add link to the local housing pages. So we've actually done that to Sky High news site, to the online garage sale. You will see those as links that have been created. We were initially calling it properties. They said that we should change that to housing, so we've done that. One of the points that they made, I thought this was really interesting, and this I think could be a real game changer. We haven't addressed this on this portal yet, but this is something we can be building out next. They said, right now, if you think about it, the property owners don't really have an incentive to post their housing on the site, because the reality is, as soon as a house and our property comes available, on an average, a property owner is getting 20 to 30 requests for someone to stay in the property, you know, in a span of 24 to 48 hours. So there really isn't much incentive for them to do extra work because they've got a lot of demand. What they suggested we try to do instead is maybe build a space on the portal where we're identifying the individuals who are looking for homes. So by almost creating a catalog of individuals that are looking for homes that have been sort of pre-screened to some extent, and you know, there's ways in which we can do that. Making that information available, and obviously making sure we're being compliant with all the housing regulatory compliance pieces. Then we basically have an active roster of people looking for homes. Then that information can be used by our property owners to maybe proactively reach out and sort of do that supply-demand matching. We thought that was an interesting idea. It needs to be explored further. There are several legal issues that we have to make sure we're being compliant with. But I just thought that was a really interesting point that the folks in Winter Park made. So that's something to think about. The other piece that they highlighted, I thought this was a really great idea. In terms of categories of jobs, they said instead, you know, initially we had part-time, full-time, seasonal, temporary, and internships as categories. They said instead of those, let's sort of expand the description a little bit. And you can see some of the areas that they recommended we add, which was year-round part-time, year-round full-time, seasonal full-time, seasonal part-time, and temporary. And so we've actually made that update on the site. And actually that categorization makes a ton of sense. So that's been done. On the resource catalog, they said, let's create a place for people to identify volunteer opportunities, educational opportunities, childcare, transportation, social services, recreational, medical care, and even local grants and any funding that may be available for people to tap into. And then also identifying any major businesses that provide resources to employees, especially in the tourism space, you know, happy hour, the discounts that often businesses give to people in hospitality industry. So those kinds of pieces they thought would be interesting to add. So as you can see, some of these pieces have already been added. But let me pause there. And again, I'm going to unmute you so that we can get some feedback from you on your reaction. Whoops, sorry, I just did something. Hold on. Okay, we're back to that. And let me unmute you. Okay, so everyone's been unmuted now. Welcome your thoughts and feedback on what we've covered so far.
Well, this is Roxanne with Granby Ranch, and I want to echo the thanks for all the hard work. I think it's moving great. I thought I did all my homework, but I don't recall doing one of these feedbacks. But I just want to say that, I mean, obviously we're very similar to Winter Park. I am in full agreement. I love the Winter Park team's comments and additions here, and those would apply very similarly to Granby Ranch. As you guys know, we're not open right now in any capacity, so I don't have a lot of I don't really have any seasonal employees to talk to or get feedback from right now. It's all of our year-round groups, but you know, as a company, we kind of more closely align with Winter Park, and I think their team has done a great job with really valuable input.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that feedback.
This is Athena. I have one quick question. I know that we were saying that we were going to have kind of a pre-screened list of people who are looking for housing. Have we thought of some board where individuals could put if they're looking for a roommate? I find that a lot of our entry-level employees have better luck when they split, you know, the housing costs, a couple of them.
Great point. Great point, Athena. I'll make a note of that. Other thoughts?
This is Scott, and I think the section there about the profile for the properties, I think, would be helpful. You know, I would agree there's such demand for that housing that things are going so quick, but to be able to, for people that have housing to go on there and look for someone that meets kind of their criteria could be helpful.
Okay.
I love the resource catalog piece. I've been just poking around on this site. It looks very user friendly. And I think there could even be some additional resources probably added as we discuss more of what folks are looking for there.
Great.
This is Diane. I might just pop in and follow what Scott had to say, is that, you know, we're looking at doing roundtable discussion to get more input on December 5th, which will be at the Headwaters Center. And we're kind of going to call it a World Cafe style. And if we feel like we're ready, what we wanted to do was create tables where we actually list out some of the resources and things, samples of what we're doing on the website, but then also have kind of a chalkboard or something that talks about additional resources and get other people's input. So I like your idea, Scott, and let me know what other resources you're thinking about, guys, because we'll set up those roundtables sort of like a World Cafe style setting, and it will be an open house 4 to 7. And after this meeting, we'll start getting the promotion out for that. So we hope you can all be there, because you really are the source that can explain this and why it's important, and kind of get that buy-in from the rest of the community.
What was the date again on that, Diane?
So that's going to be on December 5th,
Okay.
4 to 7. And, you know, education would be one of the roundtables.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Diane, did you say December 5th? I thought that was December 4th.
It's let me double check myself. I think it's December 5th. It's
Yep, that's what I've got too. You're right.
yeah, it's Wednesday, December 5th. And we were thinking 4 to 7, and it's kind of people can drop in, and we really want to get your employees' input. So when we get a flyer out, maybe next week, we'd like everybody to start pushing it through your channels. And also we'll get it in the paper and other advertising places. But the idea that we really use it as a chance to reach out to the extended community and get input from them, and as we're building the platform, then everybody knows, you know, that we're working on it and we've got ideas for fleshing things out. And Rashu will be here, right, Rashu? Are you able to?
Yes,
Great.
I'll be there. Excellent. Okay, we're going to keep going. I'm going to mute you guys. Okay, all right. So thank you for everyone who provided their data. I just want to, I know some of you are new to the discussion. I just want to show you, oops, hold on. So we've got, so if you haven't done this yet, you can update your data on the site. I'll be happy to share with you the link. So this is a Google Sheet. On here we have information on the employers. That's the first tab. The second tab is the job details. So you can scroll through here and see the information that's been posted so far. And then we have rental housing details. Here we don't have much data, but certainly if you can update your information on here, we'll be happy to upload that data onto the portal. Hopefully that makes your life a little easier. So that's happened. All right, so let's. I'd like to jump into onto the site now. So if you can look at the site. It's called grandcountyjobs.com. Like we said, you know, that's the current name. I agree with the feedback that was provided. I think maybe if we go with Grand County Living or Grand County Life, that kind of a brand would be more comprehensive. So try to make it somewhat fun. So you can look at sort of the look and feel of the site now. Obviously, this is still a prototype. More work to do on the look and feel, but let's just look at the functionality. Right off the top, you'll see there's sort of a couple of major categories: jobs, candidates, housing, resources, events, forums, and contact. you can scroll down and you can sort of get a quick links to each one of those areas: jobs, housing, resource, events. You can see some of the latest job listings that have been posted, properties, business resources, upcoming events. So that's the basic layout. I'll just walk through each of the areas relatively quickly, and obviously, there's nothing overly magical here. You can go and click on it and play with it yourself. I do want to highlight the pieces that I think are most interesting and hopefully novel in a way that are helpful. So first off, we've got the business names, businesses listed here. Obviously, we can add to this. Businesses can go in and create their own listings. And if I'm not mistaken, maybe Middle Park had created their own listing here. So basic information: who are you? The background on what industry you're aligned with. There's not a lot of data here, but for some of the other ones, encouraging really employers to put in as much detail about the images on who they are, details about the benefits of working there, any sort of story about what it's like to work at that particular organization. Being able to tell that story is really important. So really encouraging our employers to tell as specific pieces of their story as possible around benefits. It could be soft benefits, hard benefits. It could be around any perks of working there, discounts, all of those pieces. So being able to put that up. And as you can see, for each of these jobs, you can sort of see how many jobs and vacancies they have open right now. So that's the first piece, is the employers listings. Then we can go to job listings. By the way, there's filters there too that you can filter based on industry or locations. So here's the job listings. The data you're seeing here comes directly from this spreadsheet. So this is the information that you provided us. This information has now been uploaded onto the site. You can sort of see, quick glance, you can see job listings have been categorized as, we talked about those new categories: seasonal, part-time, full-time, temporary. So those, you can kind of see what those categories are. On the left, you can sign up for alerts. Every time a new job's posted, you can sort of get daily or weekly alerts. You can search by location, job type. Those are the categories that we talked about just a few minutes ago. You can look at jobs by industry, job function, what type of work do you want to do, qualification. This is pretty straightforward. Experience level, we just kept it pretty generic for now: entry level, mid-level, management level. These two pieces I think are the most interesting, which is it's the ability to look at future projected jobs. So especially for folks, this is something we heard again and again with our employees. As someone's working one seasonal job and that job is going to come to an end, being able to look out into the future and see, okay, well, what's my next job going to be? So being able to look and see, okay, then, are there any jobs starting, post mud season, May, June timeframe? Right now, obviously, we don't have a lot of data in here, but hopefully as we build this out, we can start to post those open jobs coming out in the future as well. And then you can look at not just when jobs start, but also when jobs end. So I can sort of filter and see, how I can coordinate between one job to the next. So I can apply those filters, and based on that, the listing changes. We can click on some of these job listings and see the details. Here information is pretty straightforward. You can look at the details of what the job is. You can apply for a job based on the information you provided. Either when you click on this, either you end up going to send an email to the employer, or it routes you to the website for the employer where the person can apply for jobs. You can also look at other related jobs here. So that's the jobs piece. Candidate. So this is about individuals can create their profiles. This is dummy data right now, but people can create their profiles to say, here's who I am. I'm looking for a job. Here's my qualifications, and, put in as much or as little data as you want. Having this information out there can, hopefully be helpful to some of the employers, especially for jobs that require specific skill sets, you can do some filters. And then for employers, there's ways in which you can directly reach out to these individuals. You can create, as an employer, you can click on their profiles and create a short list. So you can sort of flag individuals that you want to follow up with. I click on this and basically segregate out individuals that I kind of want to keep an eye on because I think they may be a good fit for my organization in the future. So not only are we looking at jobs, but we can also, individuals can post their resumes. They can indicate that, I'm working a part-time job in Winter Park right now, or in a seasonal job. I come available in May, June of next year. I've got great marketing skills. Other employers in the region that may be looking for those types of skills can now reach out to that individual. And that point is really, really important to highlight. And I know some of you heard this story before. We're trying to figure out a way in which we can make it easy for our employees to transition from one job to another, whether it's going from a winter job to a summer job, or even if it's going from, say, a part-time day shift job to a part-time evening shift job. And so by being able to look at both the employee data and the jobs data, hopefully we can help our employers and employees make better matches. On the housing side, we can look at, we had more listings earlier, so now we've just limited it to long-term and short-term housing. And so pretty straightforward information here. Some of this data comes from some of the local listings. Some of it's outdated. I wouldn't pay a lot of attention to the specifics of the data, but just take a look at the fact that this is sort of how the housing options are listed out. We've added a few other features on here. Based on our conversation with some of the employees, they said, can we add a flag that says, is this property on one of the bus routes? So we've added that as a function as well. So people can filter based on some of those options. So that's housing. Next is resources. One request that I have of everyone here is each one of you knows of one or two great resources in Grand, or maybe even in the region beyond Grand, that could be helpful to the local employers and employees or prospective employees. We just did a quick search and pulled a handful of these resources on here. But anything you can do to give us those details, or maybe even going to those organizations and having them create their profiles directly. Obviously, the richer data we have here on what services are available, the easier it is for our employees to find the data. And you can sort of see, here's a partial list of categories: social services, recreation, housing, healthcare. As we get more organizations listed here, this list will expand. People can do a search based on categories, city, etc. So that's the resource piece. Based on feedback from you and some of the other employees, there was a lot of conversation about especially for the seasonal employees, they're in the community sometimes for such a short duration that whatever we can do to help them connect and build a social network locally, whether it's with other individuals, other employers, that can really help them sort of improve their quality of life. And this is feedback that some of the employees provided to us directly, which is, in one conversation, I think it was at Winter Park, the individual said, love sort of the work, but the fact that everyone's so transient around them, it just feels like you're constantly having to make new friends and make new sort of social circles. So part of what we're trying to do is just make events and opportunities available to our employees, including things like volunteer opportunities, how to get engaged in the local community, how you can get involved with recreation, or, et cetera, et cetera. But so those, thinking about those needs from an employee perspective, not necessarily from a tourist perspective, those are the types of services we want to list here. The next one is forums. Obviously, this is all empty right now, but the idea here is hopefully over time we can create a nice, rich catalog of discussions where people can start dialogue. So this is basically a forum. These are the major categories. You can go into volunteer opportunities. You can type in a question around, does anyone know ways, I've got skills in marketing and I want to work for a small nonprofit. Is someone looking for help? You can sort of start those dialogues, and this information over time gets archived so that other folks can tap into it as well. And many of you who obviously represent organizations, you may have needs, you may have opportunities that you're aware of. I would encourage you to go ahead and start posting some of your content on here. Before we do a full formal launch, ideally we put some really good content on here so that the day one, as new employees are jumping on and looking at what we have on the site, they already find some great content. And then the last piece is contact. So this is, really straightforward. We haven't really figured out who receives this email. It's just a generic, if you're an employee in the region, don't know where to turn to, send us a request and we'll see what we can do. In this case, we don't know who the we is. Diane, unfortunately, is only a one-woman army. So she only has limited capacity, but I'm sure between all of the partners here, we can figure out how to maybe categorize some of these requests. But something we could easily do is on this contact us form, we can have a sort of a category option. So if someone looking for housing, they click on housing or social services, and then based on which service area the employees pick, we can route the requests to different individuals or organizations. So again, the idea is, make it as easy as possible for our employees to get a hold of us, connect with us, share their ideas and thoughts. If this becomes the way in which we engage with our employees, and then on the back end, then we have to work to actually solve some of the issues and challenges that they're raising. Over time, we create an environment in Grand County that's just much more conducive to creating a better quality of life for our employees. So that's, in a nutshell, is the site. Again, I'll pause here, and I'm going to unmute you, get your reactions, thoughts, critiques. So go for it. Who would like to go first?
I have a couple comments. This is Chris Oxley again. Two concerns. Number one, the forums page. Looking at doing this in the past, just got to make sure that somebody is available to moderate that a little bit and, eliminate auto posts or negative comments, things like that. So that's something I think we need to be aware of. But the candidates page, I'm not really sure what you have in place to deal with candidate privacy. And I just know from being with workforce and dealing with job seekers how hard we work to insulate our system to make sure that nobody's getting a hold of people's addresses, their phone numbers, their email, stuff that's generally on a candidate's resume. And so having it posted that publicly, I'm not really sure what the discussion has been about that, but I just kind of want to put that out there to be very, very careful about privacy issues there.
Yeah, Chris, that's really, really great points. One of the pieces, one of the next steps that we're going to do, again, this is the whole objective of what we're doing right now, is to create enough physicality to our conversation that we can all look and touch and feel what it is that we're talking about. As we formalize this portal, this right now is purely a demonstration site. Mm-hmm. As we formalize it, making sure that we're engaged with legal validations of every element of the site is absolutely crucial. You're right. There's a lot of content here that can be sensitive. So we'll make sure that happens.
Oh, fantastic.
Other thoughts?
Rashu, it's Diane, and like Megan's on the line, that's with Grand Beginnings, and she could start adding information on the daycare options.
Mhm.
Is there a way she can do that, or should she be sending it and then we put it in?
Yeah, so this site, she should be able to add information. If you go to this on top here, you see the add listings. You can create resources, events, property, you can add a job, and it's really, really straightforward. You just sort of follow the prompts along. And as a matter of fact, that, you know, it'd be great if you guys could try it out and just give us your feedback. It's all very, very basic and rudimentary by design. We weren't trying to make anything more complicated than it needs to be. But please do use it because you may find that, you know, maybe we need to be creating some additional features that we may have missed. So yeah, go ahead, post, and then give us your feedback on what you like or dislike.
So this is Megan, and I actually tried to do this while we were talking because I think this is really cool. But it asks for a login. It doesn't let me just start posting anything.
Did it give you an option to actually create? Oh wait, let me see. Let's go in here and try it.
It didn't give me an option to create a login either.
Okay. All right. I'll work with our development team, make sure that.
No worries. Yeah. Just an important resource to probably list if people are looking for jobs.
Sure.
I didn't see where the date was. I didn't know if that was under resources, but if you need some assistance with that and how to update that, let me know because we can work with you on that.
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm sorry, I missed the point you just made.
I'm sorry, this is Chris Oxley. With regard to the data piece, I didn't see where it was located there, but if you need assistance with that piece, just we can help with that as well.
You're talking about the jobs data?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, got it. Okay, great, thank you. All right, so please keep sending. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, this is Angie Bass. I just wanted to kind of echo what Chris had said about it's more about data privacy concerns of both the candidates and some of the other legal considerations. I just wanted to offer my assistance in kind of looking at some of the compliance considerations if you need that as potential preliminary before going out to council for that.
Great, thank you, Angie. Appreciate that.
That'd be great, Angie.
Great. Okay. So that right there is what we have so far. What we the next steps are to try to get better data on here. Starting with, so what one of the next steps that I've noted is we'll send you some instructions on how to create resource listings. We'll make sure that the back end is all straightened out. And then you should be able to go in and start to add those. So that's one. Second is we need to start showing the site to more employees and individuals with organizations or HR-related leaders. So just so they can give us some live feedback on what they like or dislike or any thoughts that we may have missed. So if you can think about those two areas, any data that we should be adding here. And then when you think about data, really think about what are the pieces that an employee, a prospective employee coming to the region or an existing employee, what are the pieces that they're typically struggling with? If your organization provides a service, let's make sure your organization's listed here. If there are programs in the region that you're aware of that we should be connecting with directly, we can do that. So if you can just focus on resources and to getting feedback from employees and employers, anything you can do to help us on those fronts would be tremendous. And with that, let me just pause, Diane. I know we should talk a little bit about the event in December as the next sort of major milestone.
Right.
But can I make a comment? I didn't get a jump in your last open mic moment. Miss Denise Harminer, I think I want to step back and look at the purpose of what we're offering on this website. And Rashu, I kind of talked to you about that. That I think, just to clarify, we're at the stage where we're trying to find out, we're getting our information on the website, we're adding what we can, but I keep having a little caution. Having hired probably 1,000+ people in my life, we need to be, I think it's important, and we need to be cautious we're not saying that this website is comprehensive, but rather the website is invitational. And we definitely live in a time when the kids feel like if they read something, it's, it's the truth, or it's everything you'll ever need to know. And that's just a caution that I keep feeling. As I'm looking at Devil's Thumb and I look at what they offer, I don't really know that job until I go there or until I ask some of my own questions. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It really, interviewing a candidate for employment is a back and forth conversation, and there's some data that's never exchanged verbally, but rather through their experience of being there or how the question was answered. Obviously, this is a new way of hiring, and maybe that's part of it. I'm not familiar with how that's going to work, but I'll tell you, if someone walks into my office and tells me a bunch of data about who they are, that's only about a fourth of the interview until I've talked to them and I see what are their abilities and what's their attitude and what's their plan for the future, because that's what it's affecting me. Does that make, so that's just one example.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to share that thought as we're going through this, that I feel it's important to give the message that this is not comprehensive, but invitational.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
That makes sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Our goal here is simply to, the way we think about it is, we've got to get more candidates to you. Think of this as sort of the big fishing net. If we can take steps as a region to showcase what we have, why we're a great community for people to come and live and work and play in, and if we get people to click and inquire about jobs, this site, you're absolutely right, it's just the tip of the iceberg in terms of you conveying fully what your organization is, or the employee conveying who they are. But if we can get you, extra dozen resumes a month, because we now have a sort of a more collective fishing that we're doing, hopefully that helps you, each one of your causes. But I think your point's spot on. Diane, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think the other thing is that we really want to assist people that are living here to feel connected with the resources. Like we have we're going to be having a grant assistance program through Grand Foundation for housing throughout the county. And we have the Winter Park Housing Assistance Program. And I feel like, especially things that are nonprofits or government related, don't always connect in the private sector. So I think this is a resource tool, but it doesn't change the fact that there's more that needs to happen when you're really doing good practices on hiring people and making that connection. What I also like about this, and I hope you all will find it useful, is that I really feel, just by who's on this phone today and how we've been meeting over the course of the last, really almost 2 years, is that we keep fleshing out ways we can all work together to raise the kind of, all tides raise the boat, and what kind of things we can do. And just by us having a platform now to have some discussion, there might even be opportunity, and Rashu, I'd question you on this, where there could be some employer back office stuff that could happen just on workshops and things that they might want to share with each other and be able to get posted out there.
Great point. Great point. Okay, so let me see what else we had. So next steps, continue to collect data on businesses, jobs, and housing, conduct testing with employees and employers, gather feedback, refine the site. That's what we're hoping to do. And then so we'll work on those pieces. I'm trying to think, Diane, if there's any other requests we have of this group prior to our December meeting.
Right. Well, I think the biggest thing is December, we need your help and reaching out to not only your employees, but also fellow businesses and folks that really could provide some input. We needed to have this manageable, so we've had, roughly around 20 people in this conversation over the last maybe year, and now it would be nice to kind of broaden that. So if you can all be there, but also bring pocket up, and I'll get you the flyer, and then if we can keep fleshing out the resources, the additional resources, that would help.
Waybo's scrambled. So hopefully you have.
Sounds good. Okay, so with that, we will wrap it up. Let me just ask around the room if there's any other feedback. Angie, anything else you want to add?
No, I think you guys have done some wonderful work. I guess the only comment I would make is you think about the naming of the site. I don't know if you guys are firm on that or if there's a further discussion with all of the folks, but running that concurrent with all of the work that you're doing now would be, in my opinion, very, very helpful. And it would actually align with your marketing strategy. So I know if you can link those two together, it will be very helpful for the group to get the word out and to really market. I think Denise is the one who said this invitational website. I think it could be very helpful. So I don't know where you are with firming up the naming of the site, but I think that would be very important.
Got it. Thank you. Darcy, anything from you?
Nope. I good work. Keep it going. I suggest too name change. I like the living part, the Grand County Living, because I think it encompasses so much more than just a job or housing. I think that we're trying to entice these people to come here and really view the scope of who we are.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Eric, thoughts? You're muted. I'll unmute you. I'm not able to unmute you. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, no feedback. I joined late, but I'm glad I joined.
Thanks, Eric.
You bet.
Thank you. Denise, you're muted. Let me unmute you. What's going on?
I got it.
Yeah.
So I agree, the name, I like living, Grand County Living, I like that. I think that should be, if people are in agreement that this is invitational and not comprehensive, that should be one of the first things that candidates see. And they fully understand. The website's not going to give them everything they need. I look forward to meeting with people. Exciting. Is that the 5th? Where at, though?
So it's going to be at the Headwaters Center. And we're going to have it 4 to 7. Cool. If you all could, be there for some of it, that would be great. We'll have roundtables, so we'll need people at different roundtables. And of course, I'll bring in the resource folks. I've already been reaching out to them. We'll have some sort of appetizers and a cash bar.
And if you could resend me the link so I can do my homework, I'd appreciate it, Diane.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Rishu. Thank you for all that you're doing.
Thank you. Yeah. Megan, thoughts?
I'm good. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Scott, thoughts?
17? Yes. Okay, I don't want to.
Tara, thoughts?
Nope, keep up the good work. Sounds like everything's going well.
Okay, good, thanks. Athena?
Oh, okay, I just grabbed the wrong thing.
My only comment would be I agree that the name change would be good, comprehensive, and then looking forward to seeing everybody on December 5th.
Good.
Wonderful, thank you. And I forget who our Hoover is.
That's Roxanne.
Roxanne.
Hi.
Yeah, hi.
My question, Diane, do you need help setting up on the 5th? And are you sending out an invite for response so you know exactly whom of us can join?
Right. Well, I'm going to do some big e-blast here. I did just kind of a save the date the other day. That hopefully I'll have to make sure you're all on my email list that we send once a month. You should be, but if you're not, let me know. We'll probably, I could use some setup time because what I'm envisioning is that we'll have probably the sticky pads, you know, where we can kind of list what elements we already have, and maybe we'll have some websites put up with examples, Rishu. I don't know how we're going to do that part of it, you know, because I envision each table will be a different subject area of the website. So we'll be kind of dissecting the website, and then I really want a whiteboard, some sort of way where we can just take ideas and input. So we can maybe use sticky notes to get, or sticky dots to get things they really like, and then maybe we can get input on additional things. I want it to be an interactive process. So if there's a small team that can maybe help me put that together, just let me know you're interested, and also that you'll be there and we can assign you a table with some other folks.
I can be there, and I have a whiteboard.
Great. Well, and I'll probably I have some of them that go on tabletops. So I'm thinking I'll probably just have them all consistently the same there, that are probably either using sticky notes or actually like write those papers, sticky papers. Notes, I guess they're called. So thanks, Denise.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for your time. Thank you for your feedback, and we will see you guys soon. Take care.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.